You ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you get paid for this podcast. What I like about it is starting using it is how easy it is to use. I just upload old episodes of my podcast. I placed it other places, do some editing and tinkering, and voila, that's it. It's that simple. So if you always wanted to start your own podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. And now, let's get on with the show. You ever felt you're being watched sometimes? Have you ever had a cold shiver run down your spine? Sometimes we go through that. Sometimes we look for answers to questions we don't really truly understand. Like, are we truly alone in the universe? Is there life after death? This world is weird. It gets weirder by the day. And in that weird are questions that we have as curious beings known as humans. Tonight, we look into some of those questions and get a little weird. Because we all are just a tad bit weird. Tonight on Weekend Weird. Welcome to Weekend Weird, the show about the weird and mundane that's out in this world or across the universe. I'm your host, RedNick, and we're still in the pandemic, so we're still doing the remote pandemic recordings. So this episode, which we just recorded about a couple of hours ago, me and my usual co-host Ogul, we'll be discussing the Keddie cabin murders, the quadruple set of unsolved murders that happened back in 1981 in Keddie, California, which were approaching the 40th anniversary of those dastardly crimes in April. So without further ado, let's get to the recording episode of the Keddie cabin murders coming up real soon. Me and Ogul. All right. Thank you. Here we go. Here's the episode. Don't leave yet. Here it goes. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
Another
Sunday.
Yes, another Sunday. Another episode of Weekend Weird.
Hello.
All right. How you been since the last time we spoke?
Good. Better week last week, I would say, mainly due to the weather. The previous 2 weeks prior to that were a bit nauseating, to say the least.
I would bet. Yes, well, at least we got better weather, and it's going to be up to like 60 this week. That's what they're saying.
You know what I heard yesterday? This whole shit that happened with Texas and like the huge dip in temperatures.
Yeah.
You know what that was called?
What?
The polar vortex. Like The one that hit us
Yeah.
years ago. So
Oh,
I did some research here, in like
uh-huh.
at the time, up until last night, actually, I thought the
Uh-huh.
polar vortex was like an anomaly, something that happened, is like a freak accident that brought
Uh-huh.
super chilled air down from the Arctic down. But no, it happens every fucking year. It's just that when it goes down so far in temperature, or when it goes down so far south in the United States, then it becomes something to report on. But I just thought it was funny when the quote unquote polar vortex happened in Chicago 2 years ago. It
Yeah.
was like the most reported story. You walk down the street of any Chicago street and bump into any stranger and ask him what the polar vortex is, they'll be able to tell you. Um, but it's the same thing that affected what happened in Texas 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, which I just thought was pretty funny. But anyways, sidetrack. Go ahead.
Yeah. God, what the what was I going to talk about? I don't know. He talked about the polar vortex and I got all like, oh my God, it's bad flashbacks and shit.
My week was good though. Thank you for asking. How are you
Yeah.
doing? Good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, hanging in there. Just another week down, another week to go. Waiting for my stimulus check.
Yes, yes, yes. We all are.
Waiting for my COVID shot. Waiting for things to get back open, so I can move on with my life and enjoy what little life I have left. Because it was a year of my life and I can't get back ever. Thank you, U.S. government.
Thanks, Obama.
Yes, thanks, Obama. Oh man. So yeah, we got another case here on Weekend Weird. It's this time it's an unsolved murder.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, let's see if we can solve this mystery. But it was a while ago. I mean, this case is as old as I am. Actually, we're coming up on the 40th anniversary of this case. You don't know what case we're talking about. Well, you don't because I haven't told you the name of the case. It's the Keddie Cabin Murders
Okay.
of
This is kind of weird
1981.
though. Like every time you say this name now, for those of you that don't know, my cat's name is Keddie. I named him after that documentary about cats in Istanbul that came out a few years ago. So not every time you say Keddie murders, I'm gonna look behind me to see if my cat's got a knife in his hand. But go ahead.
Yes. Well, I'm pretty sure your cat uh, didn't commit the murder, but the Keddie Cabin murder are a quadruple set of unsolved murders that happened in the Keddie, California, which is in the Sierra Nevada area of the West. There were again, it was a quadruple murder. There were four victims of this murder. Glenetta Susan Sue Sharp, born Glenetta Susan Davis. She just Sharp is her married name. Her daughter Tina Lynn Sharp. Her son John Stephen Sharp, and John's friend Dana Hall Wingate.
Okay.
The murders took place in cabin 28, the Keddie Resort, during the evening of April 11th, 1981, or the early the following morning. The bodies of Sue, John, and Dana were found on the morning of April 12th by Sue's 14-year-old daughter, Sheila, who had been sleeping at a friend's house. Sue's two younger sons, Rick and Greg, as well as their friend Justin Smart, were also in the house but were unharmed. And Tina was missing from the scene.
Okay.
Again, these sets of murders are unsolved to this date. But we might be close to solving this murder because new evidence keep popping up over the years, and like as recently as 2016, there were new evidence that popping up about this case, and which we'll get into a little later on.
Just curious, why did you pick this topic for today?
I picked this topic. Well, one, we're close to the 40th anniversary of these murders committing. This is a case when I only found out about it like about 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When I was just stumbling around Reddit, unsolved mysteries, stuff like that, like unsolved murder cases, and I was like, man, this is a sad case. And looking at what the evidence was back then and what the evidence now, and seeing what had happened and just learning about what was going on at the time and the possible, because there is a cover-up about this murder, supposedly about this town, and this conspiracy of this supposedly this town, and people coming up with different explanations on why, even though for any unsolved murder or unsolved mystery, people have different explanations on stuff. I just thought this was a very fascinating case, and I thought that maybe like we can possibly get justice. Yeah, maybe solve this case and get justice for these 4 victims.
All right, cool. Well, let's keep going.
Yeah, so let's dive into this case. You ready?
Let's go.
All right. In the fall of 1980, Glenn Ellis Susan Sue Sharp, she was born in Massachusetts, along with 5 of her children, left her home in Connecticut after separating from her husband, James Sharp, who was being abusive towards her. So this is an abuse victim that we're talking about here that moved up from Connecticut all the way out west. She decided to relocate to Northern California, where her brother Don was residing at the time. Upon arriving in California, she began renting Cabin 28 at the Keddie Resort in rural Sierra Nevada community of Keddie. There, she resided with her 15-year-old son John, who was born in 1965, her 14-year-old daughter Sheila, her 12-year-old daughter Tina, who was born in 1968, her 2 younger sons, Rick, age 10, and Greg, age 5. So she was fleeing a domestic dispute from a previous husband, and she made her way out to Keddie, California. And to give you like what Keddie was like, it was a dying old mill town.
Okay.
Which you started seeing a lot during that time. It was a dying old mill town, and it was really cheap to live in. These cabins that she moved into, particularly Cabin 28, it didn't cost that much. I mean, she had moved from a trailer home, because she kept moving around from here, and her family, Sue, kept moving around, and she was staying in a trailer home, and this cabin was, I think, a 3-bedroom cabin.
I mean, this is like out in the middle of nowhere. Like,
yeah, this is like Keddie is nowhere.
Super like 1800s homestead in the middle of the mountains living. Like, first of all, the town now has a population of 76.
Right. Yeah, it's nothing. Like these cabins, kind of fast forwarded to the end. These cabins, which the family and these people were staying at, are torn down. Like there's nothing left of it. Like the actual area where Cabin 28 is, it's just nothing. It's just spree. But yeah, these were like cheap cabins that you could just rent out. Purchase and buy. I think it was the rent alone was $250 a month at the time. And also an interesting note, when Sue had first left with her children, her daughter Sheila wasn't with her. Her daughter didn't initially come with her first. Sheila at the time was 14 and pregnant, and she gave birth to a baby